In this tutorial, you will learn about the fundamentals of the Taiko TJA format, difficulty ratings and levels for Taiko charts, how to convert, edit, and sync the song's audio, how to add BPM and/or time signature changes, how to chart each difficulty with guidelines to follow when creating custom charts, how to publish your charts for others to play, and also alternative methods for creating custom charts. I will guide you through every step of the process, from explaining what goes into a TJA file, to creating our very first custom Taiko chart, as well as explaining what you should and shouldn't do when making a chart, and much more. Hello! Welcome to the world of Taiko custom charts. I will explain everything that you need to know about creating custom Taiko charts. Throughout this guide, we will make use of several tools for charting and song syncing. I recommend using OpenTaiko for playing the charts. All of these things can be found in the description below. Note, this is not a tutorial for how to map songs in OpenTaiko. I also do not cover branch charting or gimmick charting in this guide, as that is too advanced to mention here. It will be saved for another video. Let's begin our tutorial by explaining the TJA format itself, which is used to create custom charts. The TJA format. All custom Taiko charts use the TJA format, except in OpenTaiko. It is a file readable in plain text where all data for your custom chart gets saved too. All TJA files start like this. Title, the name of the song. This is what you see on the song selection screen. Subtitle, the smaller text in the song select. Here, you write the artists of the song, as well as what game or series it is from, if applicable. In OpenTaiko, you can also add title JA, subtitle JA, or title ZH and subtitle ZH when playing the game in Japanese and Chinese. That is, if the song has a title or subtitle in those languages. Wave. This tells the game the file name of the song. If I named it coolmusic.ogg, I would write that here. It must match the file name exactly, or else it will not work. I recommend naming it something like song.ogg, because that keeps things simple, and that also prevents issues with special characters. BPM. This is the starting BPM beats per minute value of the song. I will explain this later. Offset. This value indicates when the song starts. This is set in milliseconds. In Taiko mode, this corresponds to the first bar line you will see, and also where the BPM or the chart start from. A positive value for offset starts the chart before the audio, and a negative value starts it a set time after the audio has started playing. If you do not use an editor like ArrowVortex, setting offset can be trial and error until you have synced the song. Demo start. This tells the game where in the song it should play a preview during the song selection screen. This goes in seconds with decimals, so if you want to start the preview, let's say, 2 minutes and 10.5 seconds into the song, you should set the value here to 130.5. Maker, the name of who created the chart. The TJA format also supports optional extras. Pre-image. This tells the game what the file name of the preview art is. It is a square image on the song select screen. Right now, the only simulator that supports these images is OpenTaiko. BG Movie. This tells the game what the file name for the background video is. Yes, you can even include an MP4 file to play alongside the chart. While TJA Player 3 only supports up to 720p videos, you can play videos of higher quality on simulators like OpenTaiko and Project Outfox. BG Image. Similarly to BG Movie, BG image allows you to include an image in the background of your chart. If you want to add a background image, make sure to include the BG movie tag, even if it is empty. This is because the BG image displays underneath the BG movie, so if the video isn't there, it will be replaced with the image. Otherwise, the simulator won't detect anything. Lyric. If your song has lyrics, you should probably prepare a VTT file to go along with your chart, but it is not required. You would then add the file name here. A VTT file contains all of the lyrics in the song as well as the timing for when to show this. All of this data is at the top of the TJA file. Below this, the actual chart data is visible. Course and level will be explained soon in the next chapter. Balloon. If your chart has any balloons, the numbers here will indicate the amount of hits required to pop each balloon. It is separated by a comma with no spaces. If I have the numbers 20, 10, 16 written here, I will have 3 balloons that each need 20, 10, or 16 hits. Score init and score diff are for an old scoring system. It is okay to ignore this and leave this empty. Notes Designer Free has the same functionality as Maker, but it can be added in each difficulty instead of the start of the TJA file. If you ever collaborate with someone when working on a chart, Notes Designer Free is a very useful feature to show who charted what difficulty. Below this is a wall of text, which begins with #start, usually followed with a bunch of zeros, ones, twos, and so on. This is the actual Taiko chart. Each bar line is separated by a comma, with enter to separate each line. If you forget to use commas and enter with manual text charting, your TJA will not work properly. V0 is for empty space. 1 is used for red don notes, and 2 is used for blue ka notes. 3 and 4 are for large versions of don and ka notes. 5 and 6 are for drum rolls, or renda, where 5 is normal and 6 is for a large drum roll. These must always start with a 5 or 6 and end with an 8, and you cannot have anything in between except for zeros. The number 7 is for a balloon note. You do not lose combo if you fail to pop a balloon. 9 is for a kusu dama. It is identical to a balloon and gives extra score when popped. There are also special notes in Open Taiko, but feel free to ignore these for now. C is for bomb notes. Hitting one of these stops your combo and lowers your gauge by a lot. G is for purple swap notes, which require hitting both don and ka at the same time. Swap notes are easier on controller and keyboard, but hitting these on the drum can be very difficult. Depending on the density of the bar line, the chart will have no or many zeros in between each note. For example, a solid stream of 16 notes is one line of 16 numbers, separated by a comma, unless scroll changes or some other effect are applied in the same bar line. At the end of a difficulty, there is #end, which signals the Taiko game that this is where the chart ends. Taiko difficulty levels and ratings. You might have noticed that I skipped over 2 pieces of text earlier, which is course and level. I will explain these 2 now. Course tells the game what difficulty the chart is. The difficulties can be set to easy, normal, hard, Oni for extreme, or the edit difficulty for Ura/inner Oni. Each course have their own distinctions so that there is a clear difference between them. The lowest density and complexity should always be on the easy difficulty. Easy difficulty is for rhythm game beginners and features very simple patterns. Normal difficulty would be a step up, offering variation between don and ka with more density. The hard, Oni, and inner Oni/Ura difficulties have a tighter timing window for the notes than easy and normal. The hard difficulty has room for even more complexity with the occasional burst of notes. However, patterns and bursts on hard are still slightly simplified. For the Oni and Ura difficulties, go nuts. There are no limits. You can make the charts as difficult as needed. Ura or Inner Oni, shown as edit in the TJA, is an optional difficulty and is like an alternate version of Oni. Usually, it is harder, but it can be easier or completely different compared to the Oni chart. There are no restrictions for density or complexity on Oni and Ura difficulties. Level indicates the rated difficulty of the chart. This is separate from difficulties like Oni or Hard, as all charts are different in structure. Level would determine how hard it is to clear the chart itself. On the Taiko no Tatsujin official games, these are the level ranges per difficulty. Easy 1 to 5, normal 1 to 7, hard 1 to 8, and Oni/Ura 1 to 10. Note that the levels are not linear by difficulty, as a chart rated Oni 7 will generally be harder than a chart rated Hard 7. And this is all you need to know about the difficulties for now. First steps for custom charts. So, we want to start charting a song. Where do we begin? First, you will need to choose what song you want to chart. For your first charts, I recommend starting with something simple and short. Try finding a song that does not include any BPM or time signature changes. Choose something that you think fits well with Taiko gameplay. For example, a song with a lot of drums is usually a safe option. For this guide, we will be using this song. This is a short and simple song. After finding a song you want to chart, you must find a way to obtain the audio, be it through buying the song online or getting it through any other official source. I recommend converting audio to .ogg if it is in FLAC, WAV, or MP3. A .mp3 file has issues with audio synchronization between tools with lower sound quality. An OGG file has decent sound quality and the file size is also not very large. You can use Audacity to convert the audio or to cut out any silence at the start or end. I recommend using the song I selected if you'd like to follow along. I added the file below. After obtaining the audio for the song, make a new folder in your Taiko Simulator's Songs folder hierarchy. Then name the folder after the song. You will need to keep all files related to the chart in the same folder, or else the TJA cannot find them. Finally, copy the audio file into this folder. We will create the TJA in a little while. Once we sync BPM and offset, we can begin making our very first Taiko chart. Syncing BPM and offset/demo start. Before you create the Taiko charts of your dreams, you must sync the offset and BPM, beats per minute, to have the notes align with the rhythm of the song. For this, I recommend using ArrowVortex. The link can be found below. ArrowVortex is an app normally used for making Stepmania, ITG, or DDR charts, but it is also a very robust tool for syncing BPM and measures of audio. After downloading this, you can extract the app into a folder on your computer and then open ArrowVortex. You'll be presented with an empty window. Go back to the folder where you put the audio for your custom chart, then drag and drop this file into ArrowVortex. If this does not work, you can also open the audio manually through the File menu at the top. If everything was done properly, you will automatically see the audio waveform appear. Here are some basic controls for ArrowVortex. Spacebar can be used to play or pause the song. Left and right arrow are used to snap to different note densities, which could be 1/4, 1/8, 1/16, and so on. Up and down arrow will be used to move the cursor around the song. You can also use the scroll wheel for this. Finally, you can use control and scrolling up or down to zoom in or out. There is an extra visual toggle you can enable that helps when syncing audio. Press Shift+W to open a menu, then press Apply to add the waveform filter. You can also go to View Waveform. It should now look like this. You may have noticed there are some numbered lines in ArrowVortex. If you press F3 or Audio Beat Tick to turn on the beat tick, then use space to listen to the song for a little while, you'll notice that it is off the beat. ArrowVortex defaults to 120 BPM at 0 offset, so we will need to sync this to the song. First, press Shift plus S to open the sync menu. You can also use Tempo Adjust Sync. Select the Find BPM option in the menu that shows up. ArrowVortex will now scan the song and automatically detect what the BPM and offset should be. Once finished, you can click on the first result, then press Apply BPM to apply these changes. Sometimes it is still off by a beat or two. You can use the buttons next to Move First Beat to change the offset by half beats or full beats. The example song that I am using has an offset of -0.019 and a BPM of 125.03. So, if you now listen to the song again with the beat tick turned on, you will notice that it is synced correctly. You can save these changes by going to File, Save As, then select the file format .ssc for the best results and click on Save. Musical measure changes only save properly in the SSC format, which is why I recommend using this for ArrowVortex. It is useful to keep these files as a reference for later. We still need to set the demo start value, which is where in the song a preview should play during song select. Because this song is so short, I chose it at the second bar line, which would be 3.858 seconds. I recommend choosing a well-known part of the song to choose as a demo start. For example, the chorus is a very good choice usually. Keep this ArrowVortex window open for now, as we will need this data later when creating the TJA. BPM and time signature changes. Once you are more experienced with charting, you can dive into deeper waters and explore BPM or measure changes. Songs aren't always in 4/4, but what does that mean? Music is structured with a time signature, also known as a measure signature. It specifies how many note values of one type are in each measure, or bar line. In my words, it's how many beats are in a measure, or a chunk of the song. A 4 out of 4 song sounds like this. Another common example is 3 out of 4, which tends to be swingy or common in waltz or jazz. Then there is some cooler stuff like 7 out of 8. And if you really want to lose your sanity like I did, you could try charting a song that has both BPM changes and measure changes. If you want to chart a song with these, it is best to sync it in ArrowVortex first. In this way, you can then add the synced BPM and measure changes to your TJA either through PeepoDrumKit or text editors before charting the song. Do note that ArrowVortex has one flaw with any measures above out of 4. For thing out of 8, you must double the BPM in order for it to show properly there, and something out of 16th needs quadruple the BPM. A 120 BPM 7 out of 8 song shows up properly as 240 BPM 7 out of 8 in ArrowVortex. However, keep it at 120 BPM in the TJA. I will use this Rayman song from earlier for demonstration purposes. Here I have synced the song, which has a BPM of 134 and an offset of exactly 0. Because the song starts with a 3 out of 8 and then swaps to 7 out of 8, I will have to double the BPM to 268 in ArrowVortex. I can adjust the BPM with Shift plus T or Tempo Adjust Tempo. Then, click the X2 button to double its BPM. Shift plus Y to open the Measures menu, then set the measure to 3 out of 8, Then I scroll a little bit and set the next one to 7 out of 8. Remember, although the BPM is 238 here, in the TJA it should be 134. Save these changes into an SSC file and then everything is done. Next is a song with BPM changes. BPM can be difficult to get right, depending on the song. William Davey of the Open Taiko Discord helped prepare this file for me. Open the BPM changing menu with Shift+T. Simply scroll the cursor to the start of the BPM change and then change the number to match the BPM. You will need to repeat these steps for every BPM change in the song, and then save the file afterwards. Sometimes, if there is no reference available online, you'll need to brute force the BPM until it is synced. It can also happen that there is a song that changes BPM in the same measure, so you could have one beat of 134 BPM and then 136 or 138. Creating the TJA. For this tutorial, we will make a TJA from scratch using a text editor, adding all of the basic information that is needed for your custom chart. You can use any text editor, but my personal recommendation would be to use Kate. This is because Kate has a TJA syntax plugin, which lets you chart in text form whilst also visualizing Taiko elements. For example, adding a 1 or a 2 into the TJA would actually show up as a red don or a blue ka note. Editing side note here, if you want to make everything look fancy while using Kate and editing TJAs, just go to the GitHub page I linked in the description below. It'll take you to this page, which has 2 downloads. This is the place you have to put it in for every OS. We're just using Windows, so let's go there. We'll take the TJA, opens this page. It just broke for some reason, alright, but you can just download the raw file. Normally it's on the right. Then you can go into your Explorer, go to App Data, Local, make this folder if it doesn't exist, name it exactly this, then make another syntax folder in there, and you just have to drop these files in there. After putting it in here, just restart Kate, open a TJA file, and then switch to TJA, and it should work just fine from that point on. Okay, so let's open a new file in your text editor. We will start by first adding the basic information. First, the song title, and then the subtitle, which is where we put who made the song and where it's from. Next, let's add the BPM and the offset. Using the values we see in ArrowVortex, I will add the BPM and offset here, which was 125.03 BPM, the offset being minus 0.019. Editing note here, don't forget to add wave with the file name of your song, which in this case is cupcakes.ogg. Otherwise, if you load the game or if you load PeepoDrumKit, you'll have no audio if you load the TJA. So yeah, don't forget that. After that, we add the first chart. It doesn't matter which one goes first, but since we're charting the easy difficulty first, let's add that one here. What I usually do when I create a new chart is I always start with the edit or Oni difficulties, and then hard, normal, and easy. Finally, we add the necessary hash start, along with some commas, and then hash end to our easy difficulty. This concludes preparing the TJA. We can finally start charting. PeepoDrumKit and Taiko charting. PeepoDrumKit is a graphical Taiko charting application originally created by Sam Yu. What I am using today is a fork made by Komi, who is the head developer for Open Taiko. This fork has many more options to add gimmicks and new note types. Besides that, there were also several other things that were changed, added, or fixed. With this, you can create charts for all difficulties and add many effects all in one app. Drag and drop your TJA into PeepoDrumKit to open the file automatically. Here are basic controls of the app. To move individual units at a time, I can select the left or right arrow. So I can just move individual units at a time. I can also just click if I want to, which I very often do. If I want to increase my density for the notes, I can do this with arrows up and down. Now for easy difficulty, we're not gonna need 1/16, but sometimes if you have a very complex song, you'll definitely need to fiddle around with density to get what you want. Pressing the D or K buttons will spawn a blue note wherever your cursor is. If I press F or J, I'll spawn a red note. And let's say I want to add a drum roll. I want just a regular drum roll, so I'm just gonna hold U, and then move with the left or right arrows, and then let go. Now we have a drum roll. Now let's say I want to add a big version of the red note. I will just select Alt plus J or F, or Alt plus K or D for a big blue note. Now let's say I want to add a big drum roll, which is also a thing. I can use Alt and then hold U, and then move the arrow keys again, and let go, and I have a big drum roll. If you ever forget what the keys are, there is a usage guide tab right here which explains you all of the buttons. If I want to get rid or select several things at a time, I can just hold right click and then move my mouse over the things I want to select. I can then hit delete to delete everything if I want to. One small thing to mention before I start charting easy difficulty: whenever I'm working on a chart, I like to lower the song and sound effect volume. This is because some songs are really loud. When you do this and you're done charting, don't forget to set it back to 100%, or else the quietness will carry over into the game. You don't want that, so don't forget to do that. Okay, so let's begin by lowering the song volume to something like 80 and the sound effect volume to 60. And let's begin with easy difficulty. Easy difficulty means we have to keep things as simple as possible. Low complexity and low density, so that someone who is new to rhythm games or Taiko can familiarize themselves with the patterns, controls, and the notes. How does the start sound? Nothing too weird, so for easy difficulty, I'm just gonna add one red note per measure, like so. Okay, that's good enough. What does the next part sound like? This is where the melody kicks in a little, so we can add a little extra density. How about we do a red note here, 3 red notes like so, and because this is a higher pitch, we add a blue note with K or D instead of F or J. This will sound something like this. Okay, that's good. What about the next part? It's pretty much the same, so I can do this very nice little trick here, which is to hold the right mouse button, then hover over all of the notes I want to select, let go, and then I can just hit Ctrl-C to copy all the notes. I can move over here with the left mouse, and then hit Ctrl-V to paste the notes. Okay, good. Now what about the next part? Okay, so things changed a little bit here. How about we add a drum roll, since it's easy difficulty? I can hold U and then move with the left or right arrow keys, then let go and create a drum roll, like so. And I guess for this part we can add 3 blue notes, like so. It'll sound something like this. What about the next part? It changes a little bit here, but I'm gonna just copy paste what we have here. Keep things as simple as possible. Okay, what does this next part sound like? We have to keep everything simple on easy difficulty, so how about we just add one long stream of red notes like so. I'm not going to keep this all the way through here because that would be a very long stream of red notes, especially for easy difficulty. So let's see what we do here. Let's mix things up a little bit. We're going to do something similar to the previous measures, but we're going to mix red and blue, like so. Okay, so for this final measure, let's add one large red note like so. I can hold Alt and then press F or J to add a large red note. So one thing I noticed at the very end of the song, there is some static, but it is slightly desynced with the rest of the song. What we can do is we can increase the density and then create a drum roll so that it aligns with the actual static in the song, like so. And now we have finished the easy difficulty. Okay, so with the easy difficulty done, we just have to save our changes by either going to File, Save, or by hitting Ctrl+S. If there are any unsaved changes and you try to close Peepo, it'll ask you if you want to save your changes or not. Alright, so let's add the normal difficulty by going to Courses, Add New, Normal. Now we have the normal difficulty right here. Normal is for someone who is a little bit familiar with Taiko or other rhythm games already. Let's listen to the start again. Compared to easy, we can add a little bit more density, so I think I'll add a few extra notes like so. Now let's listen to this. There's a burst of a few notes here, but I can't do that on normal since that would be too dense. So let's do a drum roll, like so. After that, we can just add some red notes and then some blue notes, like so. It'll sound something like this. Yeah, that sounds good. And since we know that this pretty much repeats the same thing as before, I'm gonna copy paste it again, like so. Alright, very nice. What about the next part? This is where the song changes a little bit once again. Let's do a small burst of 3 blue notes, 2 more blue notes like so, and then 3 red notes here. Whenever I make a chart, I try to follow along with the song, so I would chart higher pitched melodies with the blue notes and the lower pitched melodies with the red notes. Charting this section will sound something like this. Okay, cool. Now the next part changes a little bit, but let's copy paste it like so, and then change 1 note here to blue. Then next we have the high part of the song. I can't think of too much to do here without making it too dense, so let's keep it pretty simple by just swapping between red and blue every time. Something like this. And then we have the last part of the song. For this, we're gonna change it a little bit. Something like 2 red notes and 2 blue notes, and then a small burst of 2 blue notes, like so. And then the ending can be pretty much exactly the same as easy difficulty. You can also copy and paste things from other difficulties. So I'll just go to easy difficulty, copy, and paste, like so. And now we're done with normal difficulty. Moving on, let's add hard difficulty by going to Courses, Add New, Hard. Cool. Hard difficulty is a weird one. It's in between Oni and normal, so things are dense and a bit complex, but not as complex or dense as Oni difficulty. We still have to keep bursts and other things a bit simple. Let's listen to the start. How about something like this? We mix between red and blue like so. But then we keep an empty space here. Some charts do this to break up an otherwise very long note stream to give you some time to rest. Then what we can do here is continue to mix blue and red. And then it starts all over, like so. Okay, cool. How does this sound? Now what I could do is add 16ths here, since some of the higher level hard difficulties do have 16ths, but I don't want to do that here. That would instantly make it a hard 7 or 8, and I feel like this could be a lot simpler than that. How about we do something like this? 3 red notes, then 2 blue notes since these are higher pitched melodies, and then we swap between blue and red. What we can do is add a blue note here, 2 red notes like so, and then 2 blue notes. I'm basically trying to follow the melody. And now we just copy paste this. Alright, cool. Then there is this part. I'm actually gonna lower the density here to 1/8, since I don't think I'm gonna chart 16ths here. Let's make it a long stream of blue notes like so, and then it changes a little here. So we're gonna do some lower pitched melodies here, which means red notes. And then for this part, I can do something like this to follow along with the melody. Now here's an interesting thing. In the normal and easy difficulty, we would just copy paste the same thing over here. But this measure changes, and I'm gonna make a small change here. We'll copy paste this, but we're gonna edit this last bit. It'll sound something like this. It's to follow along with the higher pitched melodies right here. Then there is this last part of the song where everything kicks in. What we can do is we can start with red and then swap between both notes, like so. Then we can keep following along, but then at the end, make it all blue notes, like so. And then there's the last part of the song. Let's try to follow along with the melody here, something like so, and then 3 blue notes. What I could also do is make these 2 large blue notes like so, and then add a red note and the drum roll that is usually here. But I think I'll do it a little bit differently. I will add a balloon. Now, the more density I have set in Peepo, the more hits are required to pop a balloon. So if I make the same balloon in 1/8, it would only require 2 hits. But I know that this is fairly doable on hard difficulty. So we have 1 large blue note, a balloon, and then the ending, which is pretty much the exact same. And now we're done with the hard difficulty. Okay, let's finally begin with the Oni Difficulty. I am not going to add an Ura difficulty as this is highly subjective. If you have a chart that's really hard, what you could do is separate the Oni and Ura by having a very difficult Ura chart and a slightly nerfed version as the Oni difficulty. Or, if you have a cool gimmick you would like to make for the chart, you could also separate this into an Ura chart. Anyway, with the Oni difficulty added, let's go listen to the start of the song once more. Oni difficulty means there are no more limits. We can basically make whatever we want. So let's increase the density to something like 1/16, and then make the start of the chart something like this. The start repeats again, so I'm gonna copy and paste it like so. Now let's listen to the next part. Let's follow the melodies as closely as possible, so we're gonna do something like this. A burst of 5 red notes, and then some blue and red, something like this. And then this. Basically, what I'm gonna do for Oni difficulty is try to follow everything as closely as possible, without any limits or restrictions. So we're gonna have something like this. I added an extra note here to create some variation, and there is also a small little noise as you can see in the waveform. Now there's the next part, which is pretty much the same, so I'm going to copy it from the first section over here. Then we have this part of the song. This is where things get a little bit complicated, so what we could do is make a 16th burst of blue notes like so. Then some more blue notes. This is where the melody gets lower, so we are going to have to swap to red notes like so. Now we have to listen to what this sounds like. I'll do another burst of notes like so. Low pitch, high pitch. But here we can add a long burst of notes like so, since there are some extra melodies right there. The next part is pretty much the exact same in the first half, so we can copy paste that over, like so. It changes ever so slightly, but I'm gonna start with the same burst, and then we're gonna change it up a little bit right here. Let's do a blue burst of notes since it's high pitched, and then something like blue, blue, red, red, red. Since the melody goes a little lower pitched here, I'm gonna add some red notes instead of making it one long burst of blue notes. Now we have the final part of the song. I will just chart a bunch of 3-note bursts where it swaps back and forth. Something like this. And then we can continue like so. Now it changes a little bit here, so what I can do is probably something like so. And then there's the final part of the song. Let's do the same thing that we did before, where we swap back and forth, red, red, blue, 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 red, and then we add that one 3-note burst again. And here, let's keep it simple. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the ending the exact same as the hard difficulty, like so. Alright, so we finally made the Oni difficulty, which means that we are finally done charting. Now what we can do is add some scroll changes, make some minor adjustments where needed, and then the chart is pretty much done. One thing we can do is we can add the go-go time. This is for the hype part of the song, or the chorus, and that is this part of the song right here. So to add a go-go time, I'll just click to where I want it to start, put the line there, hit tab, then I move to where I want it to end, which is here, hit tab again. It highlights this area, and then we can just scroll down, set from range selection, and there we go, that's a go-go time. You won't notice much in PeepoDrumKit, but in the game, this will have some extra flashy and colorful effects to go along with it. Now we just need to add this to every difficulty, and that is that. And there we go, we have it on all difficulties. Now what I could also do is add some scroll changes like so, but I'll only do this on Oni and hard difficulties. And then at the end, what I can do is make it fast, like so. And here's a nice little touch. This ending is just static, and it's the final drum roll for some extra points, so why not make the drum roll really fast? Definitely do not overdo this though. I think something like 5 is more than enough. It'll look something like this. There is one more tiny thing that I want to get rid of, which is this. There is a line at the end, but this is the end of the song. So let's just put the cursor here, and then select barline visibility hidden. If we just do this on every difficulty, we'll hide that bar line at the end. And there we go. We just hit save, and we finally finished our custom charts. Congratulations on making it this far. We are finally done with the entire charting process. Let's go into OpenTaiko and see what it looks like. Publishing your custom Taiko chart. Before your chart is truly finished for other players to try out, there is one more step to take. Whenever you save your chart in PeepoDrumKit, a .back copy of the TJA will be created in the same folder. Peepo adds and removes some of the metadata, which is then kept in this .back file. Whenever you finish charting, close PeepoDrumKit, open the .back file in a text editor, and then copy-paste this metadata from the .back file. The metadata to copy is everything starting with title, the first line in the file, until the empty line, which would be right above the first course, or the first chart difficulty in the file. Copy-paste all of that from the back file to your .tja, and then save the TJA file. You can now delete the .back file, as well as these files, if they are there. A .score file, a replay folder, which is created by OpenTaiko whenever you try your chart, the unique id.json file. If you open a Taiko simulator, these are also created during scanning. Editing note here, I will show you an example of a chart that I made and the contents of the folder. Here is my chart for Brain Implosion Energy. The chart has a PNG, which is the cover art for the song select screen, an MP4, which is just the background video, an OGG, which is the audio, an SSC file because it had some measure and BPM changes, a TJA, which is the chart itself, and a VTT file, which is the lyrics. Usually, you don't have any more files than this, so as long as you have the audio, the SSC if it has BPM or measure changes, and the TJA, you should be fine. PNG, MP4, and VTT are usually optional. Finally, upload your chart. I recommend to use Google Drive, as all other users making custom TJA files store their charts in their own Google Drive folder. This is also very useful for a tool we use, which is called rclone. rclone is a command line tool which makes it very easy to mass update someone's entire chart folder, all with just one command. Please keep in mind that custom charts are and should always be free. More useful Taiko charting tips. When creating a custom chart, there are a few useful tips to keep in mind. First, I recommend charting all difficulties. A few of my friends do not play on Oni Difficulty, and the same might also apply to you. Having all difficulties takes more time, but makes your charts more accessible to everyone, and it also helps you gain more experience with custom charting. If you're really strict on time and you don't want to do all difficulties, I recommend at least doing hard difficulty and Oni, with Ura being an optional extra. Next, I recommend charting the easy and normal difficulties first. For me, I am able to finish charts more quickly this way. One simple cheat is to chart the easy difficulty, then copy-paste this into the normal difficulty. You can then add more complicated patterns and more density to the normal difficulty. Furthermore, keep patterns and density very simple on easy and normal difficulties. Never chart 1/16 or denser on normal or easy. Easy difficulty usually has monotonous patterns of red or blue, almost never a mix. Don don, don don don. This has to do with a very important rule that not everyone knows about. Do not overchart. More notes does not always equal more good. Sometimes having too many notes ruins your chart, like so. My trick to avoid overcharting is to follow elements of the song and then add my own charting style on top. I also recommend removing scroll changes on easy or normal difficulties or keeping them to a minimum. This brings me to my next point. Don't add too many scroll changes. Whilst there are gimmicks you can create with scroll changes, adding too many for no reason can make your chart less fun or unplayable. Personal recommendations. Do not pick a song that's too long. There are very long charts, but I heavily recommend against charting something very long in duration. Any chart longer than 3 minutes drags on or gets tiring, especially if it often repeats the same patterns. I say this while I've charted 2 songs that are 9 minutes long, and there's even longer charts out there. Sometimes you have to find a shorter version of the song, or you have to learn how to cut the audio yourself. I've learned how to cut the audio using ArrowVortex and Audacity, but you'll need to figure this out on your own. Keep your charts playable. I may have created some very difficult charts, but I always strive to make them clearable by making sure there aren't any humanly impossible patterns. If you are not sure how hard the difficulty in your chart would be rated, I recommend comparing it to other existing charts. I also use this website by WHM Hammer to see the density and the total note count for my chart on each difficulty. This also shows you how the entire chart would look in one picture. Compare the density, the patterns, and note count or duration with multiple charts, and you'll start to get an idea for what ratings to give to your chart difficulties. Finally, if you're unsure whether what you charted is good or not, test frequently. PeepoDrumKit helps with this by letting you see the chart itself in real time, but sometimes you have to just playtest it to really feel the chart for yourself. Alternative methods for Taiko charting. If you are unable to use PeepoDrumKit, here are some alternatives. On mobile and PC, any text editor will work, as long as you can save the file as a TJA. Usually, on PC, this would be under All Files. Mobile platforms also have a rhythm game called Melody. It allows you to play charts and also comes with a graphical editor interface. However, the Melody chart editor is quite limited in features, so please keep that in mind. OS offers you an in-game editor for making charts of all 4 game modes, including Taiko. I do not recommend using this, unless you're planning on playing your custom charts in OS. OS Taiko charts are not compatible with other simulators using the TJA format unless you use OS to TJA to convert it to a TJA. One of these alternatives that I mentioned will help you gain more experience with the TJA format, charting by hand in text. With text charting, you must follow musical measures in bar lines. If I want to chart a 1/8 pattern like doka don ka don, the line needs to be 8 units long like so. 121-02010, comma. Notice the comma to end the bar line, as well as the zeros for empty space. This line is 8 units long excluding the comma, since it has 1/8 patterns. If it was just 4 don notes, it would be 1111, comma. If I also forget the 0 at the end of the 1/8 pattern, it would not play properly, as the simulator then tries to squeeze a 7-unit line across the entire bar line. If you are unable to use Peepo and must chart in text, I recommend looking at existing charts for some guidance if you ever run into an issue. With enough patience and practice, you will slowly become more skilled with text charting. Just make sure to look at other charts for reference if you're ever stuck on something. Thank you so much for reaching the end of this massive charting tutorial. By now, you know all the basics in order to make your very own Taiko custom charts. I wish you good luck on your journey, and I hope to try out some of your chart creations soon.